recently saw an article today that said even Sega agrees that people should wait for the Persona Atlus games or the re-release beforehand. Is that true? We have that in here. So Sega is aware that past definitive versions releases could be deterring players from buying games at launch. And I have an assessment.
Correct!
Oh my god, they read the room. Sega's Holdings recently published a summary of their shareholders Q&A session that took place during the company's second quarter financial briefings of the fiscal year. Q&A session covered a range of topics, including a sudden drop in sales of category titles, games released during the past fiscal year compared to the previous year, and revenue fluctuating largely impacted by Sega's new full price and free-to-play titles. Namely, it was brought up that Sega has released a number of critically acclaimed titles in the past couple of years, but despite the positive reception and high praise from their quality, sales performance fell short of expectations. Addressing this issue, Sega explained that some of the possible causes could be presence of rival titles in the same game genres, as well as the game's initial pricing. The company also pointed out that the players expecting definitive editions of games will be released in the future could be what's making them hesitate to buy the titles at launch. While we have been able to pinpoint a precise cost of lower than expected sales performance, we believe the problem also lies in our marketing, which wasn't able to sufficiently convey to the appeal of our games to users, said Sega spokesperson, reassuring the investors that they are currently analyzing the problem. While underperforming titles in question weren't specific, players in Japan theorized the definitive edition problem could likely be linked to games developed by Atlus, because again, the team that's really known for doing this is Atlus. So as one of the more recent examples, Shin Megami Tensei 5 was released in 2021, and an updated version, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, launched in 2024, less than 3 years later. This seems to be the standard pattern for many Atlus new releases, including the Persona series. When it comes to sales, Atlus critically acclaimed RPG Metaphor v Fantasio sold 1 million units on day one, which is an incredible feat for Sega. However, the title witnessed a sharp drop in sales post-launch, releasing 2 million units only half a year after its debut. Of course, there are various different factors, blah, 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 blah. I would definitely say this is a decent diagnosis of like why people are reluctant to buy their games out the gate. I will say, as someone who promoted Metaphor, like I've worked directly with Sega marketing to help promote these games, and I'll tell you one comment that I fucking get a lot, and I see a lot, is that's cool, I'ma wait until the real version comes out. And you know what? I can't blame people. I really can't. I'm torn on the re-releases thing because like on one side, it is annoying to play a version of the game knowing full well that the better version is going to exist in a few years anyway if you're just patient. But on the flippity flop, the only reasons why those definitive editions are as good as they are and why they greatly improve on the initial is because they have the benefit of coming out initially, getting feedback, and then improving from there. You know what I'm saying? It's like these enhanced editions are not just simply DLC slapped on. They are normally fundamental changes to the design of the game. Like SMT5 Vengeance is substantially more fleshed out, better than the original SMT5, but Vengeance only was able to get those general improvements because SMT5 came out and they got feedback from it. Most people will agree that Persona 5 Royal is better than Persona 5, but Royal only has the benefit of being better because 5 came out first. So some would argue just like, well, just release the game and be done with it and stuff. And I think that actually might be the plan moving forward, because Sega, not Atlus, but Sega, you know, the parent company, has voiced that they would like to move more towards DLC instead of re-releases entirely for this reason. They're starting to move towards just the DLC model. That'll get rid of the whole, I'll just wait 3 years for the real version to come out. But at the same time, DLC is different from an enhanced edition because DLC is slapped on. An enhanced edition is organically baked into the whole thing, and I would say is better than just a basic DLC. You know what I'm saying? But it is, again, a full price game. So, you know, Atlus loves double dipping. We know they love double dipping. How long it takes them to double dip is kind of up in the air, though. Metaphor is a game that kind of reeked of a product that could absolutely get an enhanced edition in 2-3 years. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, as it stands right now, it's an excellent game, and I would highly recommend it. Similar how I would recommend any other base version of a, you know, an Atlus game. But, you know, I don't blame people initially for thinking Metaphor was going to get an enhanced edition in a few years. I still think that's on the table, maybe. I thought they were gonna, like, maybe start moving towards the DLC route with Metaphor. Maybe we'll see that in the next year or so, because it's only been out for a year. I'm glad that they're acknowledging this, and, like, I think it is a point of discussion for a lot, or debate, too, amongst fans, again, for the reasons I just stated, is that, like, why buy the game out the gate when I know that the real better version, per se, is gonna be out in a few years, and I'm still gonna have to pay full price for it anyway. I wouldn't be that broken up if they said that they would never make, like, if they were just gonna abandon the enhanced edition, they're just gonna do DLC or updates in the future. But, you know, Persona 5 Royal was, like, a massive improvement. Catherine, you know, how long does something have to exist before Atlus double dips is kind of up in the air. You know, sometimes it's fast. Again, Royal was like 3 years. Catherine, it was 8 years. 8 years, and then they re-released it, which was crazy. Maybe if there was a more consistent timing thing, or like maybe they should just wait 10 years and then do it. But the fact that that they are so almost reliably consistent to release within at least 3 years' time, I get why people are reluctant to buy them out the gate. And that's truly a thing I heard consistently with Metaphor. Consistently, my comments, everything, was that this looks really cool. I'm gonna wait for the real version to come out. And I can't blame people for thinking that because that's what the president says. People who buy the OG game should get a deep discount on the definitive edition, right? Like, if you have like proof of the original save file or something, you should get it for like half off or something like that. That'd be nice. Something to accommodate, because people do kind of feel like screwed over. But like, how about this? Shin Megami Tensei 5, had I known Vengeance was coming out, I don't know if I would have bought the original. I have no reason to go back to the original. Vengeance is the original and then some. Like Catherine and Catherine Full Body, I can understand. Like, you can pick and choose like which version you prefer. Some people prefer the original Persona 4 over Golden. But for the most part, the re-release is kind of the better version on most accounts. The definitive editions from Atlus feel like perfectionism just as much as whatever else is. It's like the cash grab. It is cash grabby. I mean, they do be double dipping. But now it's hurting them. Oh my God, finally, consequences for the cash grab. It's like, well, if you keep cash grabbing, people are just going to hold out until they're not having to buy 2 versions. They'll just wait to buy 1. Which is why we're seeing these numbers. All of this to say is, okay, Sega is aware that this is a problem for people, or at least like is a reluctancy from Atlus's audience at the very least of like why people don't want to buy them immediately and why they kind of hold out for it is that they have a kind of a history of this stuff and it's expected. Metaphor is truly the perfect example of this. Metaphor is a game that I highly recommend and I really enjoy it, and as like new IPs go, it's a great game. But so many people out the gate, we're seeing like, I'm gonna wait till the real version in a few years. Anyway, so we'll have to see how they remedy this issue moving forward. I think they're probably just gonna do what Sega is kind of planning or wants them to do, which is kind of go for the DLC route. That's what they did with Persona 3 Reload. Again, you could argue cash grab and stuff, but they was like, anyway, and here's the DLC tacked on instead of re-releasing Persona 3 Reload again. Like I said, the difference between like DLCs and a full-on re-release is the difference of how it's integrated. A good example of this is the difference of how it feels is like Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix versus Kingdom Hearts 3 plus Remind. All the extras with a re-release are cooked into the experience organically versus the DLC, which is just slapped on and it feels very fragmented from the experience. You could argue that with Persona Royal or like really any of the enhanced editions and stuff. There's just stuff in there that's just like, you couldn't really just slap that into a DLC. It's fundamentally baked into the core of the game. But independently from money, just the quality of the thing, I do prefer an enhanced re-release with extra content versus DLC extra content, if that makes sense. But of course, the price point is obviously a kicker. So we'll just have to wait and see if they keep up the enhanced editions or they kind of pivot to just make it DLC moving forward and they kind of abandon these, or at least like make them a rarity that they only do every decade or so. You know what I'm saying? Maybe just make them free update. Wouldn't that be fucking sexy, honestly?